Hello and welcome to another episode of Fluent English Power. I'm your host, Luna.
And I'm your co-host, Mason. Today, we're tackling a question that we hear from almost every single English learner at some point in their journey. Why are English movies so hard to understand? And what can I do to fix it?
It is such a common frustration, isn't it? You can pass an English exam, you can have a conversation with a teacher, but then you sit down to watch a Christopher Nolan film or a fast-paced sitcom, and suddenly it feels like you've never studied a day in your life.
Exactly. It's incredibly discouraging. But today, we're going to break down the linguistic and psychological reasons behind the struggle. More importantly, we're going to give you a step-by-step roadmap to fix it.
So, Mason, let's start with the why. Why is there such a massive gap between a classroom and a cinema?
I think the first major hurdle is connected speech. In a classroom, teachers tend to speak clearly and distinctly. In movies, actors speak naturally, which means they use linking, elision, and assimilation. They don't say, "What are you going to do?" They say, "What you're going to do."
That's a huge point. To a learner's ear, 4 or 5 words suddenly become one long, blurry sound. If your brain is looking for individual words, you're going to get lost within the first 10 seconds of a scene.
The second pillar is slang and idiomatic language. Scripts are written to reflect how people actually talk on the street or in specific subcultures. Textbooks often lag 5 to 10 years behind current slang. If a character says, "That's fire," or "I'm gutted," and you only know the literal meanings of fire and gutted, the context is gone.
And we can't forget the sound mixing. This is actually something native speakers struggle with too. Modern movies often prioritize realistic sound, which means the background music, explosions, or traffic noise are often just as loud as the dialogue.
Right. And when you add accents and dialects into the mix, going from a New York detective to a London gangster, it's no wonder learners feel overwhelmed.
Before we get into the fixes, we need to talk about the subtitle trap. Mason, what's your take on using subtitles in your native language?
It's a double-edged sword. If you watch with subtitles in your native language, your brain essentially turns off its listening mode. You're reading, not listening. You might enjoy the movie, but your English level stays exactly where it is.
I agree. It creates a false sense of security. You think you're learning because you're hearing the sounds, but your brain is actually just processing the translation. To fix your listening, you eventually have to move away from that crutch.
Okay, let's get into the how to fix it section. We've identified the problems, now let's build the solution.
Step 1 is what I call active micro-listening. Instead of trying to watch a 2-hour movie in one go, choose a 2-minute clip. Just 2 minutes.
This is key. Why only 2 minutes? Because you can't maintain high-intensity focus for 2 hours. With 2 minutes, you can deconstruct every single sound.
Exactly. Here is the process. Watch the clip once without subtitles to see what you catch. Then watch it again with English subtitles to fill in the gaps. Then write down the phrases where the spelling didn't match what you heard. This usually reveals the connected speech Mason mentioned earlier.
That aha moment when you see could have written down but realize the actor said coulda is where the real learning happens.
Now let's talk about my favorite technique, shadowing. If you want to understand fast English, you have to be able to produce the rhythms of fast English.
Shadowing is essentially acting. You take that same 2-minute clip and you try to speak at the exact same time as the actor, not after them, with them.
You have to mimic their pitch, their speed, and where they pause. If they swallow a sound, you swallow it too. This trains your brain to recognize those patterns when you hear them in the future. It's like tuning your ear to a specific frequency.
It's also great for your confidence. When you can successfully shadow a fast-talking character like Sherlock Holmes or someone from The Bear, you start to realize that the speed isn't impossible, it's just a pattern.
Another fix is changing how you study vocabulary. Stop memorizing lists of words. Instead, start mining movies for chunks.
By chunks, we mean groups of words that always go together. For example, instead of learning the word mind, learn the phrase, "Would you mind?" or "Never mind."
Movies are the best place for this because they give you the emotional context. You see the character's face, you hear their tone of voice, and you see the situation. This creates a much stronger memory in your brain than a flashcard ever could.
Luna, do you think some genres are better than others for learning?
Absolutely. If you are a beginner or intermediate learner, avoid fantasy or sci-fi at first. Movies like Star Wars or Dune use a lot of made-up vocabulary and technical jargon that you won't use in real life.
Good point. I always recommend sitcoms or rom-coms. They're usually based on everyday life. The vocabulary is practical, the situations are relatable, and the dialogue is often repetitive, which is great for reinforcement.
Animation is also fantastic. Voice actors in animated films like Toy Story or Finding Nemo have to be incredibly clear with their diction because they don't have real faces to convey emotion. It's often much easier to understand than a gritty live-action drama.
Let's give the listeners a concrete strategy for the next movie night. We call this the subtitle progression.
Level 1. Watch a movie you have already seen in your native language. This removes the stress of not knowing the plot. You already know what's happening, so your brain can relax and focus on the English sounds.
Level 2. Watch with English subtitles. This connects the visual word to the auditory sound.
Level 3. The 15-minute challenge. Turn the subtitles off for the first 15 minutes of a movie. Your brain will struggle for a moment, but it will eventually start to adapt. If you get totally lost, turn them back on for 5 minutes, then turn them off again.
It's like interval training for your ears. Over time, you'll find you can go 20 minutes, then 30, then the whole movie.
One thing we haven't touched on yet is cultural knowledge. Sometimes you understand all the words, but you still don't get the joke.
That's because movies are steeped in culture. References to historical events, famous celebrities, or even popular brands are common.
The fix here is curiosity. If a character says something that makes the audience laugh but you don't get why, look it up. Search for "Why is this movie scene funny?" or look up the cultural reference. English isn't just a code, it's a culture.
As we start to wrap up, I think the most important advice is to be patient. You aren't going to wake up tomorrow and understand The Godfather perfectly.
Exactly. It's better to watch 15 minutes of a movie every day and do a bit of shadowing than to watch one 3-hour movie once a month. Consistency is the secret sauce of language learning.
And don't be afraid to use the rewind button. Even native speakers use it. Sometimes an actor mumbles or the music is too loud and we have to hear it twice. Don't be harder on yourself than a native speaker would be.
Let's recap our main points for our Fluent English Power family. First, understand that movies are hard because of connected speech, slang, and sound mixing. It's not just you, it's a linguistic challenge.
Second, move away from native language subtitles. Use English subtitles or better yet, no subtitles at all for short bursts.
Third, use the shadowing technique to train your ears and your mouth at the same time.
Fourth, start with easier genres like animation or sitcoms before moving on to complex dramas or fast-paced thrillers.
And finally, be consistent. Small daily habits will lead to massive breakthroughs in your listening comprehension.
If you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe to Fluent English Power. We have so many more tips coming your way to help you speak and understand English like a pro.
Leave us a comment and let us know which movie is the hardest for you to understand. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep practicing, stay curious, and keep the power of English flowing.
Bye for now.